So what I want to do today is talk a little bit, really briefly, we're going to do kind of a crash course on what character design entails, because I've seen a majority of you already have a style that you like to work in, and you have an idea of what you like out of characters, but questions like these entry tasks, exercises like these entry tasks are going to help you more understand in more detail the different parts that make up what you like about the characters that you see in the animated world, wherever that may be. Okay? So I've linked this video that I'm going to play after we talk a little bit because I want to show you first. And I don't have my iPad today, so I will be doing it analog. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about how shapes are going to influence the way that our characters are perceived. All right? But before we do that, I want to give you a little preview. Hi, welcome. I want to give you a little preview of what I have in mind for what our final will look like, that we're going to get started on next week. It's a collaborative final in the way that you all have the same prompt, but you can go about it in a unique way. But there's a couple things that are required so that you can see they all mesh together. And I'll give you an example of that here in just a sec. If you look at this link on your weekly thread here, there's something that says final example. This is kind of what I have in mind for our final. Now, this is a challenge that the 3D artist community has put forth, where everybody has a similar sort of template, starting point, or basic model that they are creating, and whatever they do with the scene, with the character, with the surroundings, any of the different principles like staging or anticipation or appeal or secondary actions, these are all going to be little things that each of these animators have added into this prompt. You see how all of them have the same basic sort of direction? Keep in mind that these are 3D artists, and we've been working in the traditional space, and they are far more qualified than we are. So I am not expecting this level of polish from your guys' final. What I am wanting you to see is how the different styles merge together with the same prompt, and I want us to try to create something similar. Okay? So let's watch this for 30 seconds or so we can just kind of get a vibe for what our final could look like. Okay? 2,400 people submitted. You might notice some references to different games, different medias, different sort of stories, vibes that might come up from these different artists' unique perspectives. Notice how they're each only about 5 seconds, 5-6 seconds of time. But since they all have the same prompt with different approaches, you get to really see the beauty that animation entails, especially from its collaborative aspects and from your creative abilities. So I won't play this whole thing, but it is linked in your agenda if you want to watch more of it. I might let it run while you guys have a chance to work today. Let's do a couple more, so we'll stop it right there. Okay, so if you go to your weekly thread, that's the final example right here. That's what I want us to try and work towards. And that's what I'm going to help you guys get started next week. So by the time that final's complete, we'll have a nice cohesive example of all of your guys' skills from this course that we can post and brag about and show off to everybody how cool first period is. Okay? But before we get into that, we need to talk a little bit about character design, specifically how these shapes are going to influence the way that your animation story gets told. Okay? We'll also talk about walk cycles a little bit later. Okay? So I'm going to switch some gears real quick. Am I frozen? No. Ha, that would help. Okay. The screen share is up as well if you've not started looking at that yet. Give me just a sec to clear some of this space. I think it's time for a new projector bulb. We're getting a little dim. Okay. We'll just move these over here. Okay. So then we have some space that you can see on the camera as well as on the screen here. So when I write the word, I want to hear you guys give me some examples, please. When I write the word character and when I write the word design, if I could spell. Good thing I teach pictures and not writing. Okay. Design. What are some words that are popping up when I say character? How have you heard that term described before? Sam?
Like a person.
Okay. Person. What other words, when I say character, or when you think about character in animation, what pops up? Sam again.
They're unique.
They're unique? Okay. I'm going to put uniqueness. Uniqueness. What else? Think about different animation styles that you've seen, or if you play MOBA games or hero shooter type games, arena style games like Marvel Rivals is something I've been playing a lot of lately. What do you notice about the comic book characters in Marvel Rivals, or in Overwatch, or in League of Legends, or in, I can't think of any other MOBAs, Dota 2? Or Pokemon. What's the Pokemon one called? There's a Pokemon one. Huh? Unite? Yeah.
Pokemon Unite.
Yes, Pokemon Unite. Or let's talk about Pokemon in general. How many of y'all have seen Pokemon before? Raise your hands.
I don't know if that's alright.
Huh? Yeah, I've never heard of them. Okay. So let's switch gears. When I say the word design, what kind of things pop into your head?
Like physical appearance?
Physical appearance. Okay. Sorry, my handwriting is not the best. Okay. What else? Design. It can be graphic, it can be web, it can be architectural, it can be artistic, it can be... What are some things that pop into your head when you hear the word design? Sam?
Like background.
Background. And then Jack, I saw your hand too.
Style.
Okay. Background. Style. What else we got? Let's try to get one more for design and two more for character. We'll revisit character here in a sec. What words pop up when you hear me say, what is design? Chris?
Like clothing.
Clothing? Okay. I forgot about fashion design. I don't know if you could tell by the way that I dress. I'm not always thinking about that. Anyway, let's revisit character. Have you ever heard somebody describe something as having character? Give me a thumbs up if you have heard somebody say something that has character. Okay? What does that mean? What does that mean to y'all when something has character or charm? Think about appeal as well, the last animation principle. I'm gonna throw one in here. Okay? Interesting. Now, interesting is a little bit different from uniqueness. Uniqueness helps us understand that the characters are different. Interesting is the specifics about what makes those characters different. And we're going to get into the shape part of interesting here in a second. Okay? Give me one more word for when I ask what is character. We'll finish this up at 8:25. Olivia.
Personality.
Personality. These are all great examples, y'all. Oh, not Purcell. Sorry. Person, al, it, t. Okay, let me add little periods after each of these. Okay, so with these 8 terms right here, 8 concepts relating to character and design, these are the parts that you start with, establishing who your character is. I'm mentioning all the time, hey, good morning. I'm mentioning all the time that your characters need to have some type of story. Okay? Every story needs a protagonist who moves it forward. You need a hero. Every story needs an antagonist, somebody who gets in the way, a villain of the hero's goal. And then there's a whole bunch of other literary terms for what different characters are. But if you don't have something to move the plot and you don't have something to stop the plot, you're not going to have much of a story to tell. And when we think about story, when we think about characters, our protagonists and our antagonists, our heroes and our villains, each one of them is a person with uniqueness, something that makes them interesting, and they have some type of personality. This is the aspect I want us to focus on a little bit today when I'm talking about what shapes mean what things. That's what shape language stands for. Now, when we think about design, a lot of you have mentioned things that are about artistic choices, or choices in general. The style of clothing that you choose to wear, the style that the character is drawn in, or the style of the world that the character occupies. Their background can mean their literal scene, like a stage, or their background can mean where they come from, what they've experienced. Okay? What story has led them to create their character. And then also their physical appearance is a big one that influences what your audience is going to assume about the characters that you're making. Okay? This is sort of the idea that I want to have be clear about. When we think about character and design, it's two-pronged. Okay? It's a double-edged sword, if you've heard that before. Okay? I'm going to draw a little sword here. It's not a very good sword, but it's a sword nonetheless. Okay? It's got a little shine. Okay. Two sides to the sword. When we think about shapes, we as people, we as humans, are creatures that seek patterns. You've heard me say that a lot. Okay? It's a very mammal thing, especially a very primate thing, to look for patterns. Right? What are some examples? You were thinking about characters that you've seen and things that you like about them this morning with the entry task. Can anybody tell me any patterns you might have noticed, or patterns that I have maybe mentioned kind of here or there throughout the semester? Sam, what you got?
In like certain TV shows or something, there's like a style all characters.
Okay. So a style that all characters stick to. Okay. Let me ask this in another way. If I drew a character like this, imagine those are arms. Imagine this is the body. Okay. Maybe think about the antagonist in Ratatouille. All right. And then if I drew a character like this, what is the difference between these two things? It's not a trick question. I'm curious what you guys are noticing. The differences between these two characters. Ankita.
Like proportion-wise, like the guy on the left, his torso's like much longer.
Right. Okay. So longer on the left, which means shorter on the right, right? Let me ask you this. Would you consider, just based off the super limited information that you have here, is this character more likely to be a hero or a villain? Villain? Anybody else think villain? Okay. Is this character more likely to be a hero or a villain? I'm going to put villain. Okay. Is this character more likely to be a hero or a villain? Your first thought, what are you thinking? Hero. Now let me ask, why? Chris.
Villains are usually like intimidating.
Okay. Now, Chris, let me ask you as well. What is intimidating to you from this character?
Because they're really tall compared to other people.
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else? What's intimidating about this character on the left here? Luke.
Looks like he's like scheming with his arms.
Okay. Scheming pose. You don't know what he's thinking. Anybody else? Give me one more intimidating thing about the character on the left here. What's intimidating? I can ask this question in a different way. Is there anything intimidating, obviously, about the character on the right here? Is there anything that's sticking out to you that might be intimidating? Anything at all? Jack?
His dwarfism.
Okay, so shortness, for sure. All right. Anything else that could be intimidating about the right-hand character compared to the left-hand character? It's a little bit harder to look for things that are intimidating, right? That's because these shapes influence the assumptions that you're going to make about these characters. And that is a superpower that you can use as an animator to lead your audience away from where they're actually supposed to be thinking, okay? Audiences love a twist. They love a mystery. If you've presented your character in a lot of these intimidating, villainous ways, and they turn out to be a hero, you're going to surprise your audience, and they're going to enjoy that surprise. Conversely, which means oppositely, if you have someone set up with all of the hero traits, you have a roundness, you have good energy, you have helpful, you have a lot of terms that we associate with heroes of stories, but they turn out to be the villain, that's also going to shock your audience. Okay? How you lay out your characters and what shapes that you use intentionally help influence what your audience is going to think about that character and how you can surprise them by telling them they were either right or wrong by the end of your story. Make sense? Let me give you a couple examples of different types of shapes and different types of shape languages. Okay, let me pull up a reference on my computer here real quick so I can see. Okay. So, typically, when we think about shapes, we have three major ones that we're using. We have round ones, sometimes called ellipticals or circles. We have triangles, which don't have another name, and then squares. Okay? Most artwork, most intentional character design is using some combination of these three shapes. Let me ask this. What sort of feelings do you associate with a circle? Again, not a trick question. There's a lot of psychology to this. There's a lot of brain things that are happening when you see a circle, a triangle, or a square. I'm curious. Let's just focus on the circle. What do you think? Jack?
Softness.
Softness. What else? What else are we feeling when we think about think about a circle? Sounds funny to say the question out loud, but you got another one, Jack?
Like, I feel like I'm thinking of like a fat character maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like a larger character.
Okay, so large, in a large comfort.
Yeah.
Say that. Okay. What else? We can move on to the triangle. What do you guys think about when you see a triangle? Sam.
Pointy.
Pointy. Okay. Pointy can mean a lot of things, especially in a character design world. What else? What else from a triangle? Anything else from a triangle? Okay. We'll move on to a square. Squares or rectangles? What do you guys feel from squares or rectangles? Do you have a hand? Okay. No, you're good. You're good. Squares or rectangles? What do they typically mean? Sam?
I feel like a square would be probably like stupid.
Stupid? Okay. Stupid or foolish. Nice. What other sort of associations do we have with squares? What do most of our buildings shaped as people? Rectangles. Do you think that might be for a reason? Squares have a sturdiness. Squares have stability. Triangles also have these, but our human brain is more likely to approach a square than a triangle because of the points, right? While a triangle has sturdiness and stability, it also has sharper edges, okay? I personally also associate a triangle with intelligence because it makes me think of people who are good at math, which is not myself. And so obviously those people are smarter than me. Or those characters shaped like triangles are smarter than me. All right? Since this is not an exact science, there is exact science related to it. What you assume from a shape, what we're just kind of talking about as people, we're all members of the same planet here, right? These assumptions are generally what your audience is also going to make. So, we do one more example here. Give me a sec to draw these out. Nope, that's quite an egg. Pretend it's a circle. Okay. This is not very good, so just give me a sec. Has anybody figured out what I'm drawing yet?
Oh, is it Avatar The Last Airbender?
It is Avatar The Last Airbender. Okay. I goofed up the Earth Kingdom sign a little bit, but it's okay. Okay, so is the air sign from Avatar The Last Airbender more flowy or more sturdy?
Flowy?
Flowy, okay. Is the fire sign from Avatar The Last Airbender more flowy or more sturdy?
Kind of like a mix.
It's kind of a mix, okay. Is the water sign from Avatar The Last Airbender more flowy or more sturdy? Flowy. And then is the earth sign from Avatar The Last Airbender more flowy or more sturdy? Sturdy. You see how this with the straight lines, with the squareness, with the rectangles, you think sturdy? You see how with the water and the air, things that traditionally flow, you think flowy? You see how these are curved and these are straight? This is shape language at work here. These signs are communicating something to you, whether you know it or not, right? These things are using shape language, okay? Air typically moves we think of air, we think of tornadoes, potentially, made of air, a very powerful thing made of air, versus the water wave, okay? It's got that additional consistency that the ocean provides. Earth, we have the sturdiness of something made of rock or stone. And then fire, it's kind of a mix of all of these with the sturdiness of the bottom and then the flow of some of the more flame points, right? Generally, this is what I want you to be understanding about shape language today, is that the curves are going to influence a more approachable, a more flowy, a more loose, could also be a word, idea of a character. If a character has more flow to them, if a character has more liquidness, okay, that's probably going to indicate something about their character. Maybe they're easygoing, okay? Maybe they are flexible, okay? Versus your sturdier characters, versus your more straight characters, versus your more strong or heavy characters, whether that's muscle or fat, okay? These characters, by having these hard edges, are going to communicate that they are built more densely, or as a personality trait, like stubbornness, have more hard edges to them. And then something like fire is a bit of an outlier because it can have the aspects of sturdiness, it can have the aspects of flow, just like each of these, but fire is a good example. Okay? Now with that being said, I have a video that I want to put on that's going to walk us through some more detail about shape language. Okay? So let's get that plan at the moment. Okay, last thing you need to do today is reply to this one that says test student because I was in student mode. My bad. What is your favorite character design shape and why? Tell me that before you go. I'll see you tomorrow when we get more into shape analysis. Yeah, Jack.
Right.
Hmm?
See if you can play shapes.
Yeah, I'll be right there.